Welcome to the Disability Podcast, the podcast where we talk to people living with disabilities. We hear about their life, learn tips, tricks, and share ideas to help each other and our listeners with new ideas to solve real-world obstacles. So let's not waste any time and jump right into it. So today we have Hollis Pierce with us, and as I am not very good at introductions, I will let him introduce himself and why we're here today.
Yes, well, thank you, Tristan, for that lovely introduction. As you say, my name is Hollis Pierce. I am 35 years old and I live in Ottawa, Ontario, which is the capital city of Canada. You and I met because I myself am also launching my own podcast, which is out now on Spotify and some other platforms, called 21st Century Disability. And it's all about how the modern world is changing perspectives about disability. It's just because I've launched it because I myself and I have congenital muscular dystrophy, and throughout my university degree, I learned about a lot about disability, and I changed my perspectives on disability even. And yeah, I learned about a lot about myself and a lot about how I treat others also. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I found that during university, that's the time when a lot of people seem to change or sort of not motivate their minds, but change their minds and become more learned. I think that's the nice way to put it. They become more learned and open to new ideas, especially during university and that time when, they're starting to get out from underneath the school system and starting to explore what they want to explore.
Absolutely. And I find, like you said, getting out from underneath the school system, and the school system, I don't know what it's like, or it was like for you, Tristan, in the UK, but I know for me in Canada, um, most of my elementary and high school learning was done in Ontario, and it sucked. I won't lie. One of my schools, even like when I was in elementary school, like grade 1 or 2, accepted my sister immediately, who was fully able-bodied, and did not want to accept me as a student, because then they would have to go out of their way to hire an educational assistant, and they didn't want to go through that
Have the
process.
effort. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
they have to make the necessary adaptations and all these things,
exactly.
which, I mean, I've noticed that when you actually do them, that, it's not that much. And once they're there, they're there. So any future people with disabilities can take advantage of them. So it's not like they have to put in the investment for one person and make the same investment again and again and again. So I honestly don't understand why schools, I mean, yes, they have to put up the funding, but after they put up the funding, then they're widening. If you want to just talk about it financially for them, they're widening their catchment basis and being more inclusive in the process. So when they make the excuse that it's, too much effort for them, they don't know what they're doing, then I just look at them and just say it's not that hard. It's just a few things here and there, ramps and things,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
sometimes one educational assistant. But
exactly.
once you have that, then you can
Yeah.
start. Yeah,
Mhm.
once they've made the investment, I don't see the drawback for the institutions themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which, yeah. So from London, I never really needed that many adaptations. My sort of bad experiences in school was specifically down when I wanted to play sport. I play cricket. I'm quite good at cricket. And at the time I was playing for clubs and county level, which is two steps underneath nationals.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
quite a high level. But the school, I don't know if it was that they were afraid that I was going to get injured or something, but I played one game in the whole season for them, and it was the last game of the season. So it
Um,
felt like, let's throw him a bone or something. So I wasn't really sure if they were scared or if they didn't want to put me in. I mean, that was my experiences at school, like disability wise, because most of the time it was fine. It was just when it was down to sport that they seemed to, I don't know, treat me with very soft hands, let's say.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I know from my experience, especially in high school, uh, you know, phys ed class was something that I just did not go to because they did not want to take the time and effort to figure out ways to get me involved. Um, and they would just solely bring me in for when they were talking about sex education and health class, and
Mm.
so it was sort of randomly um spurted throughout the year. And um they didn't want to find different ways of helping me be physically active, which I found frustrating because, like you say, you outside of school, you were participating in a high level of sports, just like uh, myself. I was also outside of school participating in a high level sport, but I was playing power hockey, which is like full contact hockey in power chairs. Uh, and,
Does sound fun.
yeah, it's almost like bumper car hockey. It's like that, like that video game Rocket League, Um, what is like soccer with like bouncing cars together? Yeah, but um, and I'm still playing that today. And uh, but now I play in a more um in a league that's a bit more uh like
Slow pace.
football. Pardon?
A lead that's, yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's non-contact, and it's obviously contact happens, but you're not allowed to purposely
Purposely.
bash
Yeah.
into another individual. And I remember I myself was uh, a bit frustrated because I played power hockey um, as an 11-year-old in Calgary, and then when I moved to Ottawa, there was no hockey league here. So over a course of a decade, I slowly began to build more and more of a group of friends together, and we formed a league together. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a similar experience here in London. So I have traveled for the past, I don't know, 15 years or more. The place I play cricket. It's an hour to an hour and a half away. I have done that for every weekend in the summer for 15 years. And because there's just nothing closer to London. Even now, where disability sport is getting more of a spotlight on itself, the closest place is still an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the place I is closer, but London traffic. Just because the place I go to is down the motorway, you're just traveling at 70 miles an hour, you get there quicker. So there's so many. I mean, I'm not sure if you know about London, but London has a lot of green spaces. There's a lot of places to do sport. So I don't know what the. I mean, I'm looking into it, but I don't know what the sort of barrier is to opening like a community club or some. Just you start with a community club, then you build it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Just so I think it's all about you build the social side of it first, then you build the competitive side,
Mm-hmm.
then but no one I've realized no one apart from me seems to have an interest at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I may be wrong. They're probably out there, but I have to find them first.
Well, yeah, and that's the difficult thing to do is recruitment. And our new league is, as you say, is very small at this moment in time. Just because we've haven't found that way of recruiting yet. And a lot of our players, to be honest, are from the old hockey league where it's full contact, and that is because a lot of those players are on the older side now and can't handle um, that amount of energy it takes to play at that. Um,
Yeah.
it's still a competitive high level, but having full contact is even more energy.
It does take a. I mean, luckily cricket is not full contact, but I can imagine it does take a toll, especially when someone gets older. But then
Yeah.
you never, I suppose, I mean, you never lose the, um, you never want to stop playing the game. So you find alternatives, which is what you're providing, I suppose, in this situation. Even though, I mean, it's also because we have disability wheelchair cricket now, and a portion of that squad and of that lead are able-bodied people put into wheelchairs because they want to play the game no matter what. They want to socialize, they want to have fun. That's what it boils down to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So they don't mind getting pushed into getting into a wheelchair. They are much worse in a wheelchair because they're not used to it.
Exactly.
But it's just they just want to have fun at the end of the day, and then by doing that, they build that sort of squad itself.
Hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you wholeheartedly about including able-bodied individuals in the disabled sport because they don't they might not realize how challenging it is to still play a sport while driving a fast chair. But then again, if the roles were reversed, I would find it personally mind-bogglingly difficult to sorry, this is what I always like to say, to be running on chopsticks and playing, football or hockey or yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever you're used to at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
you get used to stuff eventually, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you just, for example, just jumped out of your chair and you'd be, you wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I tried to play wheelchair cricket once. I mean, I can't use my left arm, so I was useless. I couldn't move at all because it's just, but everything that I've been taught was useless.
Yeah.
I know how to swing the bat, but you know, you swing it in a way, but oh no, there's a wheelchair in the way now, so you have to change everything. It's really
Yeah.
fun, but it can just a whole different technique.
Yeah, I remember in my old league we used to have like once a year we would have celebrity games, and so we would bring in local celebrities, whether it was like radio DJs or a couple times we had local politicians and things like that. We had the mayor of Ottawa and a couple members of parliament as well, and they would be laughing on their faces because they couldn't get out from a corner with a chair. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's the funny thing is we laugh at it now, but I mean, I think it's good anyway because you mentioned that all these high profile people come and try it, and then they realize how difficult life can be just going about day-to-day life anyway. So
Hmm.
at the end, when all things drawn to a close, they realize, oh, now I get to go home and act normally in inverted commas, but
Yeah,
these people, they just have to continue doing what they do. So I think it's good for the awareness and for, political movement, shall we say?
yeah, no, absolutely it is. And I myself am just learning about the concept of what some people refer to as, prep time. Meaning like how it takes someone with a physical disability X amount of time longer than it does a perfectly able-bodied or non-disabled individual to do something basic like get dressed. It's almost like golf. It in my mind it's similar to golf, where you would have a handicap of 9 strokes to uh, be kind of
Even the
level
game out.
with the person you're playing with.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
Does that make sense?
that made sense. That's a good analysis. Yeah. I mean, if you listen to one of my previous podcasts, I had a great guest on, and he said when being with a disability is like you have a certain number of spoons in a day, and then every activity you use one of these spoons, and then once you're done with the spoons, you're done. You
Yeah,
can't do anything that day. So even if you wanted to, just physically can't. And doing exercise and sport gives you more spoons, but still, at the end of the day, the spoons, there's not many of them.
yeah, absolutely. I remember that episode quite well. I love, well, personally, Tristan, I love your podcast and I love every episode. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Uh, and um, I I agree wholeheartedly. Like yesterday, um, was an example of that for me. I had an appointment. I had like a echocardiogram uh, earlier in the day at like 8:30 a.m. and I had to be up at 6 a.m. and I had to be on the transport by 7:30, and
Yeah.
it was, and then I was back here by 10 a.m. and then I had to try out my new wheelchair for a bit in the evening or in the early afternoon. But after that, I was just dead, so I couldn't do. I knew I had things to do like communicate with emails and do banking um, and things like that. But I I was just gone, and so I all I had energy for was uh watching TV or listening to my audiobooks or playing
Yeah.
PlayStation. Yeah.
I mean, I went through a period It was just after COVID that for some reason I seemed to have lots of energy, but then at about 2 to 4, my energy just crashed. No matter what I did, my energy just crashed
Mm-hmm.
completely. So I had to have a nap. Once I had the nap, it felt like I've been sleeping for 12 hours and I was up and had the most energy I've ever had, for the past.
Really?
It was really strange. I went to the doctors. They thought it was something to do with my epilepsy, had blood tests, all of this stuff. Everything was fine. So then, I mean, I still don't know what it is, or it doesn't happen so much. It occasionally still happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've just kind of worked because I don't have a normal 9 to 5. I just sort of worked into my day now.
Mm-hmm.
But on the good side, it makes me sort of be able to work till 8, 9 o'clock or be productive till 8, 9 o'clock in the evening if I wanted to.
Yeah.
On the downside, I have to have a nap between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I don't, I become useless at everything.
Yeah. Well, and I find like even able-bodied individuals would say things like that because if they didn't, I know, I personally, as you can tell, if you're showing the video of this interview, I am living in a long-term chronic care facility, and a lot of the nurses here, if they don't get their hour-long break where they eat or sleep or do both, they're dead, like and useless by the end of their day.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
their jobs must be very tiresome, I can imagine.
Yeah, but at the same time, um, I think, um, what what disabled individuals need to remember is that yes, it may seem like um, other people are doing so much more than you as a disabled person, but at the same time, your body or your mind can only contain a certain amount of, as you say, spoons for a day.
Mm.
And it may be fewer spoons than the average person, but that's not a bad thing. That's just reality.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that does make sense. Everyone has their limit at the end of the day. So I just think it changes from person to person. I think disability or not, it all affects everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you advise then if people have a similar condition, or people have a wheelchair or a similar condition like yourself? Is there anything that you like? What's your top 3 suggestions? Let's do a top three suggestions for, making the day easier, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, like, in my again going back to earlier in our conversation, I learned a lot about myself in university, and in university, I really realized that I only had about 3 hours in my day, that maybe 4 if I put like a small break, as you say, for you, uh, to do what I wanted to. And that's why it took me like an extra year to write my thesis in when I was doing when I was in graduate school. So I would say, first of all, be accepting of your own abilities and realize um, what you are capable of doing, and what and then how best to accommodate um, your goals in the day. And just be like, okay, well, I want to do this, this, and this today, or just this and this, because one of those things might be a bigger thing. Like a few weeks ago, I was trying to change my bank, my bank companies, and I can't remember if I told you the story already, but like I had such complicated issues that um that I had to go to 7 different banks locations in a single day,
Seven,
and
seven.
they were just like they were like the same banks, but I was just constantly going back and forth. And like the only reason why I could have the energy for that was that it was a beautiful day outside and I wanted to be outside anyway. So it was just providing me with a nice
Direction.
exactly and a nice walk in between.
Yeah,
Um
I mean, I've noticed that does help when the weather is nice. It's like a weight is always lifted off your shoulders, and it's just easier to do things.
yeah,
But I think it's also good to tell people that if you set out that you're going to do, let's say, 3 tasks in a day, but you still only manage to do two, don't get disheartened that you've only done two and you wanted to do three.
yeah, exactly.
Because
And maybe learn to set priorities for okay, but which of those 3 things is most important, and which of these 3 things can I get by and feel good about myself, with leaving behind one of them until, like, the next day or later in the week.
yeah, prioritize. I think for me though, the problem is I used to procrastinate a lot. I'm getting better, but it's still a big thing with me is procrastination.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people do suffer from procrastination. I mean, I procrastinate in a weird way. So I procrastinate by doing other work. So
yeah,
I like to be busy all the time. And if I'm not busy, I make work for myself.
yeah,
But I might be doing something, and then I start procrastinating on that task, and then go to a different task to procrastinate on that task. And then, so I end up with doing 3 things, and they're all 80% complete, for example,
yeah,
which, I mean, it's good when you're first starting them, but then you have to finish them. I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't like finishing stuff, which is
yeah. Hey, no,
annoying.
I agree completely with you, and, like, I'll be thinking about, oh, I want to do things about this episode, or I want to do this episode so much uh, right now, but it's so complicated to start. So I'll do another completely different episode in the meantime, and then procrastinate about that episode, and I'll finish this one, and I'm like, no, I want to do this one still, and then
And then it snowballs, and then
yeah,
then nothing gets done at the end.
exactly. And then, or you get lost in doing other different non-related stuff, like uh, checking your clearing your email inbox, or that's what I really get lost in. Is like, oh, okay, well, I don't really have the energy to do this, but I'm still gonna clear my inbox. And whereas that's me, it's more so me telling myself that um, I don't want to spend time doing this, so I'm just gonna do this minor task and pretend that I'm still accomplishing something.
I mean, it will help in the future because you're, more organized. But
Yeah,
I can definitely relate to it because it can be. Sometimes you just want to work on a fresh desk, you
yeah,
know, and the email is basically a cluttered desk in these modern times. So
yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
I can completely understand sort of, and especially I think if we relate it back to sort of having disability, because we, I'm sure you prefer to work on a computer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
physically cannot write,
Oh,
and
you physically cannot write.
yeah, well, I need like very specific positioning of myself and on my chair, and then maybe like like something like a stack of books so I can see where I'm writing. So like signing.
It's too much effort for this.
Yeah. So signing out papers, it's just like, well, no, I can't sign that. And that's one thing that I found extremely frustrating when I was at the bank a couple weeks ago. So they wanted me to sign forms, and I'm like, no, sorry, I physically cannot. And I'm like, can you just take an X uh, for me, or just type, or just write my name down for me? And they're like, no, sorry, sir, it's for your safety that you need to do it. I'm like, well, I physically can't do it. So, and I physically can't reach where your hand is. And so
So yeah, what was the solution?
the solution to that was, well, it, there was, during my interaction with her, there was this, you can cut this out if you want to, but during my interaction with her, there was this nut bar behind me, and he was pacing up and down in the bank and yelling, you stole my money, you stole my money, I want my $60, I want my $60, you stole my money. And, the manager came in, and then uh, he's like, sorry, sir, we don't have your money. Um, uh, but please calm down, and otherwise we'll have to call the police. And then he's like, call the police, call the police. He's like, I'm a civilian of this country, and then eventually they did call the police, and he got arrested. But then the police came, and they said, put your arms up, and walked towards me. And they said, okay. As soon as he put his arms up, then they said, oh, drop the knife. And I thought to myself, drop the knife? I'm like, there's an armed man behind me? Like, oh my God. And so after he was forced to leave, then the teller was a bit more accommodating to me. And so she came over and put the form on my tray of my wheelchair, and so okay, here's what we'll do. And she grabs like an ink pad and put my finger on the ink pad, and then pressed my finger on the form so that like my fingerprint was on it instead of
Signature.
a signature. And I mean that's a very original idea.
I mean, think about it, that's a very innovative idea, and I think personally, now thinking about it, that should actually be used as a form of signature. If you can't write, because everyone's fingerprints are different,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
is technically the perfect signature, because
It is.
it can't
Yeah.
be faked. So it's better than a signature. So yeah, that's actually very innovative. But I would want, because banks and businesses must have policies in place for people who can't write.
Yeah, exactly. And then she started to walk away, and then I'm like, "Oh, can you please help me wash my finger off?" And then she's like, "What? Why? Why?" Well, because you put my finger on the ink pad, so my finger has ink on it now. And she didn't realize that. She's like, "Oh, wow, yeah, you're right. Sorry." And then she grabbed like one of those like alcohol swabs,
Alcohol
and
wipes, yeah.
yeah,
I think yes, because they're not. I wouldn't say it's because they're not trained, but it's because they just don't know.
yeah, yeah.
And I think the only way to sort that whole situation out would be you would need to have a disability consultant go into businesses and tell them okay, in this situation, you can do this. In that situation, you can do this. Because, like you said, the solution is very easy. Ink
Yeah.
pad, fingerprint,
Yeah.
done, wipe, finish.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But because it's not well known, people don't know how to do it, and then it sort of gets
Yeah.
forgotten.
Well, and
So
maybe that's something as a business that you and I can come up with. Justin is
this disability consult. I mean, it would. I mean, I am doing a bit of disability work on the side. I told you about my company.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I find that amazing.
So
And
we're
I
doing
told
a lot of stuff now.
yeah, I told my mom about that one thing you were telling me about, and her mind just blew up. She's like that mind blown emoji.
I mean, the whole premise is that the solutions to the problems are simple solutions.
Yeah,
It's just you need someone who's gone through it first person to understand how to solve them.
yeah,
The actual product itself or application or whatever,
yeah,
as in, thing being sore when you exercise, the actual application of it is easy, but to think about it, to even realize it's a problem for a lot of people, that's where the sort of innovation comes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And yeah, well it's just like when I was younger, I don't know about the UK, but when you're in high school, in order to graduate, you need to do 50 hours of volunteer service as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was actually hired to do a accessibility audit of a couple music festivals here in Ottawa, and uh, and so it was an honor to be asked that, first of all. But second of all, I told them like, okay, well, yeah, I would love to do something like that, but um, I'm gonna need a team of people to help me out because I only experience these events as I experience it as as a physically disabled individual.
Mm.
I don't know what it is like as a deaf person or a blind individual or someone with a cognitive disability. And so they sort of accepted um, uh, that that theory, and so I hired a team, uh, and then we assessed it all, and then I kind of put together a big accessibility audit uh, paper or form for them, and then they took those ideas in and then adapted it to future festivals.
Mm. Yeah. No, I mean that's what I would say most organizations need is, yeah, because for example, I only know life from my physical disability. I don't know how deaf people work or how blind people work, like you said. But I think on top of that, though, and if you have any sort of disability, you seem to look at stuff from a different angle, and you look at problems differently.
Yeah,
And you solve them in a different way too. I think that's the main thing. We solve problems differently, which leads me on to my next point is we solve problems differently, but people don't realize we solve problems differently. So if you apply that to a work situation, for example, We can come up with solutions that other people would never think of.
Yeah, it's true.
But
And also on top of that, they might not even realize that it's a problem for people with disabilities.
they might not even realize exactly. But then again, do you find that you're not given the chance to show that you can find the problems?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I find that there's certain people also that are so close-minded that they are taught to do certain tasks in certain ways, and then therefore they just don't accept doing it in a manner that that is more suitable to your needs and your abilities. Like for instance, I remember when I was in my undergrad and I was living at home, I would hire private care staff, and I'd read resumes and do interviews and things like that. And a lot of the time, obviously, a lot of the time I would interview them still, but most of the time, if their main qualifying uh, thing on their resume that they focused on was that they are a trained PSW, or if people don't know what that means, it's personal support worker, through a college or something like that. I would, I would not necessarily put that as a positive thing. In fact, I would mark that down as a negative thing, because I found that people with those types of training were more closed-minded and not whether not open to the idea that they could accomplish those same tasks, but in a slightly different way, that were more suitable to my needs. Also,
So you think that obviously to get that qualification, they're trained in a certain way
yeah,
and they won't veer off from that training whatsoever. I mean, yeah, you do. I would say you do get that sort of people. I mean, that's what is interesting, I think, because I can bring this full circle back to sport now because, well, in my experience, the only reason I am very good at, or I play cricket at the high level that I do is because of my coach. And because my coach was open minded about, okay, he's got this problem, he can't do this, but he can still do everything if we just change this one little thing and it all just works.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you get the people who are closed-minded who think they're they know the answer, they want to put what they've learned into practice, but then you also get the people who they know what works, they know what you can do, they know what you can't do, and they fold it all together and pop, and a whole different situation pops out which works individually for you. It may take longer, and some people don't have the patience for that. Understand that. But when it works tremendously well, in my experience.
Yeah, exactly. And if those people are willing to take the time to learn those adaptations or accommodations, then it works perfectly well for everybody. And also, it may be that that I need to adapt the thing that works for me in a certain slight way to adapt for certain characters who need to do those things in just a bit different way. And I find that I'm always open minded to that. And if they are open minded to being or trying things in that different way, I would be more open-minded to trying things in a slightly different way that would help them to accomplish my goals for my needs. And so it's all about compromise in the end.
I think the main thing that you have to have is an open mind. Once you have the open mind, I think the sky's the limit, because I mean the other stuff comes just as an add-on, because that's just comes with experience. But having the open mind, if you don't have the open mind, none of it is possible at the start anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's the most important. I mean, if I can relate, I think that's what happened at my school. So my coach at my club had the open mind and worked with me to make, everything work. The school, I don't know if it was because there was more people or something.
Yeah.
But they were very, stuff works like this. You have to do it like that.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
But then that comes full background. I'm going to link all this background again to all it requires is a bit of training from people like you and me. Like you said, you ran that consultation for the audit for that company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all interlinked. This is what I've understood now. It's all interlinked, and every piece has to bounce off the other piece in order for everything to work.
Yeah.
But then, unfortunately, everything comes down to funding. This is what I've noticed.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Do you think, I mean, what you obviously did the consultation for the company. Did you think it was a reasonable price that you charged? I mean, I don't need to know the actual price, but in comparison, I don't know how you would value that audit.
To be honest, I did it voluntarily.
You did it voluntarily?
Yeah, I did it for my high school volunteer hours. Yeah.
Okay, so then, obviously they will accept it and do it.
Yeah.
But if you, let's say you were to do it as a career, let's say someone wants to do it as a career.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to, obviously, I see it like this. They want to live, but they also want to help people. I see it like that.
Okay.
The price, I wouldn't know how to price it accordingly.
I think my personal thought on that immediately would be something like just how many hours did it take? Okay. Well, that means that you can pay me a minimum number of hours. And at this rate, whether it's like the standard minimum wage or I have my own rate, because I think if you've got a number of different clients who have entrusted you and made changes that you have suggested that end up helping their business, and then they can vouch for you. I would say that then you can increase your price a bit more. Would you agree with that?
I mean, as I'm sort of trying to think of it now, I would, from my personal thought process, would be, I mean, because this is I'm thinking like how I would run my company if I was to do it, implement it right now. I would probably do it for a standard rate, whatever that standard rate may be.
Okay.
But then if it's successful and they start making a a decent revenue impact due to not only the people they hire, which have disabilities, but those ideas that the people with disabilities provide, and it changes. I would say if I have to go back and do another audit, I would then obviously have to take that into account and see exactly and times it by the original price by a percentage of what I think would be necessary from the advancements that the company has made. So if the company didn't make any advancements, then I would do it for the same rate. If the company's made advancements, I'd do it for a higher rate.
Yeah. I think
Because I think that shows me that they are taking my advice on board.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that like you say, if they I think that I would maybe I heard you wrong, but I think I would charge at a higher rate for the first assessment, and then I would
And then
charge.
discount it.
What's that?
And then discount it.
Exactly. If they made for check-ins, and then discount it even more if they listened to my suggestions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you did it. You do it the reverse way. Yours might actually be a better way. I don't know. I mean, my end goal is that I just want to help people the best way
Yeah.
possible.
But
So
then again, I think my way would only work if they were forced into doing these assessments.
this is the thing. I don't want to force a company to do the assessments. I want them to do them voluntarily.
Yeah.
I want them to realize that they're missing a huge sort of they're missing huge brain power just because they
Yeah.
don't have a ramp, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
most companies have a ramp, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's the big thing that I'm trying to crack.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that I put on when I wrote my master's thesis on uh academic accessibility in the post-secondary world. And I used my university, Charlton University, as a guinea pig or as a case study. And
Mm.
Carleton prides itself on being the most accessible university in Canada. And
Is
that
it
is,
the most accessible university, do you think?
well, I mean, it is accessible for many reasons, including, I would say there's three main reasons. And that is one, physical accessibility, and meaning every single building on campus is attached by an underground tunnel system. And
Really?
yeah, and so you can spend months on end or even years, hypothetically, never going outside.
That's not necessarily a good thing, but
No, it's not. It's not. But when you're living in Canada and it's winter time,
yeah, I can see.
it's
Yeah, the
more
snow.
accessible because then you don't have to continue to take on and put on and take off your winter jacket. And unless you have help with you to do those things, then it's not very accessible. But so that's the first reason is physical accessibility. Second reason is academic accessibility. and they have like what they call the Paul Menton Center, and it is a department unto its own that sort of helps individuals find academic accommodations for that's suitable to their disabilities. So whether that be extended time for assignments or exams, or different writing styles or different presentations, and also getting your reading transcripted into different formats. For instance, when I began my undergrad, I started getting all of my textbooks put into audio format. But that didn't end up working. And then I ended up putting it into PDF formats, and that worked. And then, they're very good at helping you find your needs. And then finally, another way is that they have what they call the attendance services program, where they hire university students to work as attendants on university campus. So you could live on the residencies and be cared for by fellow students.
Okay. So it gives. I mean, I can see that work. I can see how that would work. But yeah, all combined, it does sound very accessible. Especially, I mean, I think from the problem of London is that London is a very old city.
Yeah.
And the buildings are very old.
Yeah.
So apart from the few new buildings, all the old buildings, which most of the universities are in old buildings because, they're institutions.
Yeah.
The accessibility of the ones that I've been to, I mean, they've all been kind of mostly refurbished because of the laws and things that have been put into place. But I think for offices and things, the accessibility, it's a Wild West. They will either be really good accessibility or no accessibility.
Yeah.
And because of the old buildings, there's not much the companies can do, unfortunately, even if they wanted to.
Exactly. Well, it's all about what do you call it? It's all about your the old infrastructure. That's the word, infrastructure. And Europe is surrounded by infrastructure that's hundreds, if not thousands of years old, and that's why, like, when my sister visits Europe, she's always telling me how she never sees an individual with physical disabilities out on the streets. And that, in my mind, that is exhibit A of why disability is a social issue rather than a medical issue. Because, the medical perspective is that you are the problem, whereas the social one is that it talks about how your environment is causing your disability, and that if you are surrounded with the proper infrastructure and tools, you would be perfectly able-bodied or capable to
Yeah, you'll
do.
be able to flourish, as I like to say.
Yeah, or as I
Yeah.
would say, you'd be able to thrive. Yeah.
I think also the one thing to keep in mind though is that yes, it is a social issue, but also they can't make everything 100% accessible. To be
No.
realistic, they can't
Yeah.
make 100. So I think it's all about picking and choosing the battles to win and lose, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Thank you for listening to the Disability Podcast, where we explore the diverse experiences and perspectives of people with disabilities. This was the first part of a discussion with Hollis Pierce, and I hope you enjoyed it. Check out his podcast, which will have the second part in the link below. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and learned something new about living with disabilities. If you want to know more about Hollis and his work, check out the links below. We'll be back soon with another episode of the Disability Podcast. Until then, stay safe and stay curious. If you want to be on an episode, don't hesitate to get in touch from the links in the show notes, and we'll start a discussion. Goodbye.